Welcome, Brilliant Minds, to today's video lesson for November 6th. We are going to be continuing our work on our GDCAP for Islam Unit 3. We've already done some background information. We've looked at our investigation question for source number 1. By now you should already have chosen which claim is source 1 and have your quote. And today we're going to do the same thing for source 2 to say which claim source 2 is best supporting, and then what a quote is that best supports that claim. Before we do this work, I want to give a reminder about what we should have in our agenda book. So you want to make sure that you're turning to your agenda, turn all the way back to today's page, and then you want to go ahead and write down for Monday, November 6th in Social Studies, protests follow President Trump packet, which is going to be due Thursday this week because we don't have school on Friday. So you can draw an arrow all the way over, and then you can make sure that you have homework packet due for Social Studies on Thursday. And then for Friday, if you haven't written it in already, you can go ahead and write no school. And before we go back to our work, I want to give a special shout out today to Jocelyn Yu for doing an amazing job getting 4s every single day last week, and not only doing that, but also doing excellent partner work and teamwork and really helping others around her as well. So excellent work, Jocelyn. You're the daily shout out today. Now we can go ahead and turn back to our work on our GDCAP for source 2. Our goal for today is to make sure that we are figuring out this question about source 2 with a claim and a quote. So that's our objective. And in order to do that, let's review this question again. So it says, is the travel ban a reasonable order to protect the U.S., or is it an act of religious discrimination against Muslims? And you wrote this in your own words. You could have either written in your own way, or you could have written either of these questions. Is the travel ban protecting or discriminating against Americans? Is the travel ban positive or negative for Americans? And we've made some annotations so that protection would mean that it's a positive thing. That's what people who support it think. And discrimination would be a negative thing. That's what people who are against it think. So let's make sure we have those annotations here for source 2 as well. So we're thinking about, do we see evidence that it's a positive protection, or do we see evidence that it's a negative in discrimination? And then we're going to still be looking for that quote to prove our claim. We're going to now need to turn to source 2. So we're going to go past source 1 and we're looking at source 2. Okay? And your packet is going to have right here the title. So we're going to make sure we always start with our thieves. So I'm going to write thieves at the top of my paper to remind me that this is what I need to do before I'm reading. And then I'm going to write catch right here to remind me this is what I'm going to do while I'm reading. Okay, so for thieves, the title we see right here is Terrorism in America Since 9/11. Remember that from our background information lesson that terrorism is attacks on people who are not soldiers. Okay? And since 9/11 means that we're going to be thinking about these attacks from 9/11, 2001 until today in 2017. So that's about 16 years that we're going to be thinking about what do we notice about terrorists in America in those 16 years. So we've definitely looked at our title. We can check that off. And now we want to look if there's any headings we notice. So I do notice one big heading here. It says origins of lethal jihadist terrorist attackers since 9/11. So again, that we're thinking that since 9/11 is going to be those last 16 years. So last 16 years. And we know terrorism is attacks on people that are not soldiers from above, but jihadist is also one of those vocabulary words we reviewed. And a jihadist is someone who goes to war for Islam. So not all Muslims believe in this, but some Muslims believe that they should go to war for Islam. Okay, so that's an important thing to know, that it's someone who goes to war for Islam. So we've looked at our heading, and we also want to look at the visuals. So we can check off this H, but we also see visuals that we want to look at here. So we see this is a map. It looks like this is a map. The shape is a map of the U.S., map of U.S. And this is a map of, it looks like the edge of kind of Africa and Europe and Asia. This looks like the Middle East, the map we've seen a lot when we're studying religions of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. So I'm going to say map of Middle East / Arabia. Okay, so we have two different maps here, and it looks like they have two different colors. Your map is not going to be in color, so I'm not going to focus on the colors here yet, because you're going to see something different on your map because it's in black and white. So now that we've done some key parts of Thebes, we're going to move on to reading our document, and we're going to do caps. So we're going to start with circling any words that are unfamiliar, which we've already been doing a little bit of, and then making sure we acknowledge that confusion by defining it as best we can. Let's begin reading together. On January 27, 2017, President Donald Trump issued an executive order. This is another one of our vocabulary words. We know that an executive order is a law from the president banning entry from 7 majority Muslim countries: Iran, Iraq, Syria, Sudan, Libya, Yemen, and Somalia, citing national security reasons. Okay, so let's go back and see what this law did. It banned entry, so it stopped some from entering U.S. And this word majority is also interesting because it means most. So in these countries where people aren't allowed to enter, most of them are Muslim. So banning entry from 7 majority Muslim countries, okay? And he cites national security reasons. So this to me sounds like protection. So it sounds like he's trying to protect. That was his goal. He was trying to protect, okay? So now that we have some of the notes about what the ban is doing, we want to see if we can figure out what this article is saying about the ban. Is this article supporting the ban, or are they criticizing the ban? Are they for it, or are they against it? None of the deadly attackers since 9/11 emigrated or came from a family that immigrated from one of these countries, nor were any of the 9/11 attackers from the listed countries. Okay, I see some words that are kind of confusing, so I want to make sure I circle them. It says emigrated. This looks a lot like the word immigrated or to come from. So I'm going to underline came from. I'm going to write above it immigrated. So that's what it means. It means to come from a place. And it says none of them came from the countries that were on the listed countries. So of all of these 7 countries, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, none of the attackers since 9/11, none of the attackers in the last 16 years have come from one of these countries. That seems really important, so I'm going to underline that for sure. None of the deadly attackers since 9/11 are from the listed countries. I'm going to put a star there. None of the deadly attackers since 9/11 came from the listed countries. Okay. That to me seems like a negative about the travel ban. So I'm going to put a negative right here to know that the first piece of evidence I see is that it looks like this source is maybe criticizing it. 8 of the lethal attackers were born American citizens. On March 6th, the Trump administration issued a new executive order that dropped Iraq from the travel ban, among other changes. Okay, let's keep going. Of the 13 lethal jihadist terrorists in the United States since 9/11, 3 are African Americans born in the U.S. Okay, so we see they are coming from the U.S. 3 are from families that hailed originally from Pakistan, but were born in the U.S. Okay, 1 was born in Kuwait to Palestinian Jordanian parents. 1 is a white convert born in Texas, which is born in the U.S. 2 came from Russia as children. Okay, from Russia. 1 emigrated from Egypt and committed his attack a decade after coming to the United States, born in Egypt. 2 had families that originally came from Kuwait and Afghanistan, but were born in the U.S. So if we look here, where are most of the terrorists born since 9/11? We see for the U.S. that's 1, 2, 3. Another 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 was born in Kuwait, so I'll write Kuwait here. One is born in Kuwait. One is a white convert born in the US, so I'll add another one there. 2 came from Russia, I'll add Russia in the category. 1, 2 for Russia. 1 came from Egypt, add Egypt. 1 came from Egypt, and 2 of them as it came from Kuwait and Afghanistan, but were born in the US, so it's another 2 here. So where are most of the terrorists coming from? It's definitely not Egypt or Kuwait, and Russia only had 2, so most of them are actually born in the US. Okay, this is really important to say we're saying most of them are from the United States or born in the United States. Let's look at this visual again. It says, again, origins of lethal jihadist terrorist attackers since the United States. And it's summarizing up here that it says, fatal attacks in the U.S. committed by jihadist terrorists from Trump visa countries. How many of them? 0. U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents of the United States responsible for fatal jihadist attacks in the U.S. is 13. So this means that most people are actually either from or legally residing, legally living in the U.S. who are going to be the terrorist attacks. That foreigners from these 7 countries, right, from those 7 countries, are actually not responsible for any of the attacks. I'm going to put a star here because I think this is really important because it's saying none of the attackers are coming from those 7 countries he's restricting. So I'm going to underline this. Fatal attacks in the U.S. committed by jihadist terrorists from Trump visa countries is 0. And to me, this is another negative about the travel ban because it's saying that it's not necessarily working because 0 of the attackers came from the countries that he's banning. If we look here, it shows us a little more visuals about where each of them is coming from. So we see which states they're coming from. Birth state of jihadist terrorists responsible for lethal attacks. So this is where they're coming from inside the United States. And this is where it says Trump visa restricted countries. It shows where the countries are. And then the few that are coming from other countries like Egypt, right, or Pakistan or Kyrgyzstan or in Russia, those are all kind of outside of the areas that Trump is protecting. So it looks like the Trump countries are in blue here, and the terrorists are coming from places outside of that. So I want you to decide, do you think that's a positive or a negative thing about the travel ban? Put either positive or negative here. And I think we're ready to capture the main idea because we've circled words we didn't know, we've acknowledged confusion, we've talked to the text, and now we've even highlighted some important details, and now we need to capture the main idea. So let's work on that at the bottom page here. I'm going to say that it seems like the terrorists are not from countries banned by Trump. Or, in other words, Trump's travel ban does not ban countries who or where terrorists have come from in 16 years. And I want you to think about it. If this is our main idea, this is what we're gathering, then what is this saying about the travel ban? Is this negative or is this positive? I want you to decide, are these statements negative or are they positive? So you have some evidence to help you decide what you want to put when you're coming back to your objective. When you come to your objective, you want to say, do you think that source 2 is evidence that Trump is protecting the United States? Or is it criticizing it, saying that it's just discriminating against other people unfairly? Once you make that decision of which it is, you need to go back and find a quote. So you're going to come back here and look for evidence that it is protecting the United States or that it is discriminating against Muslims. And when you do that, you're then going to come back here and copy those words in this quote. One more thing I want you to do. If you would like to earn not just an excellent class grade for the day, but if you want to earn an extra reward of candy today, you can also add right here, somewhere in the column right here, in this row right here of source 2, you can write your favorite song and put a star by it. And when Miss Casey checks your work, she will give you credit not only for your class grade, but also give you candy for writing your favorite song. I hope you're proud of the work you did today, and I'm looking forward to seeing which claim you support and the strong evidence you select.